Hey guys, welcome back to Susie on the Farm. We are jumping right into today's Christmas DIYs. So I get candles here in the store and they come with these dividers. Now this is super good cardboard. It's not corrugated, it's just a really thick cardboard. And I have a hard time throwing anything away. So I cut these down into tags. Took them outside, spray painted them with a white spray paint, and now I'm going to decoupage them with the new recycled decoupage paper called Christmas Wallpaper. I am using Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. I always use this or DIY liquid patina. Both of them are amazing decoupage transfer mediums. So I like to, when something's a small item like this, it's very easy just to put your medium down. I like to mist my paper, and that avoids any wrinkles whatsoever, and then I do another coat over the top. I did 6 in that one, and then this is the other side of that wallpaper decoupage paper. I did the other 6 in that. I let them all, maybe five, yeah. Let them all dry, and now I am sanding off the edges using a little bit of 220 grit sandpaper. And for the back side, so I did all of them like that. Now on the back side, I am going to paint them all with Fusion Champlain. I did not film that. Y'all have seen me paint a million things, but also one thing you're going to know about me is I'm going to ink some edges. So I'm using my paper inker here. This is Tim Holtz, I think. And look at the difference. I mean, it just covers up any of that extra white you see on the edges and just makes it look fully complete. Now these are all the little houses from the Partridge Lane transfer book, and I had just enough to do all 10 of these tags. And I do have a lot more of those, so I have a lot of plans for those tags. So I am just quickly going to transfer all of these down. And I used Fusion Paint, which has a built-in sealer. These transfers go on so perfect with Fusion Paint. Once it is dry, I just used the little rubbing tool that comes with all the Iron Orchid Design transfer books and transferred each of these houses onto the tags. One of the tags, there were 2 skinny houses, so I put 2 on that one. And they all look great, but I felt like they needed just a little bit more. So once I get them all transferred, I was going through my stash trying to figure out, and in the tinsel transfer book, this was last year's gold gilded transfer book, there's a whole page full of wording, things like joy and peace and Noel. So I decided to use those as well on these. The hardest part here was actually punching the holes, but I did finally get the hang of it, and I was able to get them all punched, and I put some ribbon through them, and then I just went through this page of the gold gilded words and transferred them onto each of the tags. They looked so good. So I felt like the back needed something too, and in the interest of I am no longer hoarding my transfers. I am putting them on the things. No longer hoarding. I went ahead and put some of the little labels and wreaths and everything on the back where the decoupage paper was. I don't have a tree here in the store yet. It's still in my storage unit, but I did have this thrifted wreath just to give you an idea of how beautiful these will look all together on a tree. And this was basically made out of something that would have went into the trash because I'm all about the recycling. For project number 2, we are going to use the fast casting resin, and I have been told that it is quite dangerous to be letting the resin touch your skin, and the packs of resin actually come with these little finger gloves, so I put them on so I would not be touching the resin. I'm going to try to be better about that. I will say, after a few minutes, my circulation was cut off with my thumbs mostly. So I am using the new snow globe mold, and on the IOD molds, it tells you exactly how much resin you need to fill them. So it's very easy to mix them half and half, stir them, and pour them up. So I just did one of these molds because I've got something that I want to try. And I can't even take credit for this. This was about 10 minutes later and it come out, and I was scrolling on Facebook and saw that Cindy Point had done this with the cloches mold. And I thought, well, if it can be with the cloches mold, it can also be with the snow globe mold. So this is the conservatory label mold. I picked out one of the longer molds that was about the same length as my snow globe, and I poured it up. Now I wish I'd waited a little bit longer before I sat it in it, because I did have to hold it there very still until that resin started setting up. But once it did, I was able to let it go. So now this label actually acts as a stand, and your snow globe can sit up straight. This is just one of the transfers from, I believe this is Christmas Joy. I just cut this down to fit the inside of the snow globe, and it transferred so easy onto that hard resin. No problem whatsoever. Went on very, very easy. And then I decided to paint the outside of the snow globe with Pennies from Heaven. I think this is Pennies from Heaven. Whichever one the gold is. Hold on, I'll go see. Okay, it's Golden Ticket, which is the gold liquid patina. So I also forgot about the hack of painting it with a base coat of orange or red, and I did remember to do that on the back. It's just less coats that you have to do of the liquid patina and gives it a good base coat. So I got that all painted, and then to finish this up, I used some of the aging wax from Fusion. You could also use dark wax or black wax, anything to get into those little details, just to highlight it, give it a little bit more of an antique feel. And then after you let it sit on there just a minute, just rub it off with a dry paper towel, and there we have it. I only made one of these, but I can imagine a whole display of all of these beautiful snow globes. While I'm thinking about it, you can get your DIY liquid patina, your transfers, and your molds all at SusieOnTheFarm.com if you want to recreate any of these creations. Project number 3 was a very simple one. I've had 5 or 6 of these wire baskets. I think I got them in a wholesale lot at some point. And I wanted to use them up, and I thought they would be a really cute, like a firewood basket. So these are just like the spindles on the backs of some chairs. I had several. Cut them down, and then I used some of the aging wax on the end so you couldn't see like the fresh cut. I used a little bit of thrifted greenery and some berries and tied those up with twine. So I want it to look like, you know, a stack of firewood that's for sale. And I put all of that inside the basket, and then I decided to make a little firewood tag. To make the tag, I'm going to use the Apothecary label stamp and just stamp out the word firewood a few times. I had to use the Q to hold the spot there for the extra O. So I'm using Iron Orchid Designs black ink, and I'm stamping the word firewood down several times. I think there's 4 or 5 of these. And I'm just lightly tickling over the back of the stamps for a perfect impression. And I also need to take these off, clean them, and go back and add the extra O. Always clean your letters and put them up as soon as you're done with them. These are tiny letters, and there's nothing more frustrating than to go use a font and you can't find a certain letter. I lost the N on this set, I believe. And now I'm using one of the longer labels, and I've already made sure that it will fit right over the Firewood word, and I'm doing the same exact thing, just lightly tickling, holding it in place with one hand and moving the other hand to stamp over the word Firewood. And then once I get those stamped, I'm going to cut them out individually, fussy cut around the label, punch a hole, and tie them on. And that is that simple. This is like an easy little assemblage project, but I do love how it turned out. I will say it was hard to get really good pictures of these without them hanging on a tree, but that's definitely how I envision them, is as an ornament. Also, don't forget, I'm also, especially if it's paper involved, I am going to ink the edges. For our last project, I had previously, in a previous video, glued some of these round wood ornaments. I got these off Amazon. They were a lot thinner than I wanted them to be once I received them, so to make them a little more substantial, I glued them together. And I had already decoupaged some of the holiday patterns on it. These two rice papers are two of Connie's new designs. They are available on my website, and they're made especially just for ornaments. So I'm going to make a couple of the little angels. I think that one is called Heaven's Whisper. I'm decoupaging this down the same way I always do, using the Fusion Transfer Gel. I did not paint these white underneath. That wood was very light, and I thought that even if it shows through the rice paper, it will give it a very vintage feel, and that's what it did. The snowmen are absolutely perfect for this round, so I had to kind of move it around a little bit to make sure that it was fit on there perfectly, but I am talking absolutely perfect. So I did it the same way. One layer of the Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel. I missed my rice paper, put it on there, and then do another layer of the Transfer Gel over the top to seal everything in. Once my paper's dry, I do need to remove all that excess rice paper, and in a downward motion, I am just sanding with a 220 grit sandpaper, and it easily removes all of that excess and gives it a really, really crisp edge. To finish these off, all I did was poke the holes through again, and I used a really pretty little ribbon on both of these. I considered painting that edge, but I kind of liked the natural wood look on it, so I left it the same. But there is a lot you could do to dress these up, but I felt that the rice paper really did all the work. These are so precious, and you could definitely mass make a bunch of these. Both of them have an ornament page that has, I think, 5 or 6 ornament size. Y'all have enjoyed today's projects and got some inspiration to make your own. Maybe you sell at craft fairs or have a booth. Ornaments are always a big seller. I love how all these turned out. Y'all leave me a comment. Let me know which was your favorite. Thank you so much for watching.